everybody, I'm Ryan, and today we're going to talk about the vintage metagame over the course of the last week on Magic Online. And as always, this is technically a winner's metagame because Magic Online only posts top 32s of challenges, but I still think this is pretty reflective of the overall metagame. Let's jump into it. So this is the vintage metagame. At the top is Mono White Initiative with 23.6% of the meta. In second, Lurrus Paradoxical Outcome with 17.3%. And third, Esper Lurrus Control with 7.9. For some reason, it's not showing up on the graph, but in fourth is Dimir Lurrus Control, and then Doomsday with 6.3. So let's talk about these decks, starting with Doomsday. Can't you see? The world is ending. The politics, the apathy. We need to love each other. Wait, I can make a religion out of this. Doomsday is a pretty interesting combo deck. What the deck is effectively attempting to do is cast Doomsday and then stack their deck in a fashion that allows them to draw the rest of their deck and cast Thassa's Oracle. And because they have no cards left in their deck, or very few cards left in their deck, they win the game when Thassa's Oracle triggers. The rest of the deck is centered around protecting that and making sure that when Doomsday is cast, the game can be won.
You know, there are some cats I don't like Lurrus. But these cats I love, you guys are Lurrus.
Dimir Lurrus Control, I think it's more of a tempo deck, but it's labeled as a control deck. Plays a bunch of the Moxen to ramp their mana, and essentially just like counters what their opponent is doing, draws a bunch of cards off of stock up, removes their opponent's things off of Fatal Push, and then punishes your opponent for drawing cards off of Orcish Bowmasters and kind of rides Orcish Bowmaster and Psychic Frog to victory, giving that crazy card advantage and value. And then if things go wrong, you bring back Lurrus and can kind of do most of it over again.
This is Petunia, also known as Lurrus, the demon of vintage.
Esper Lurrus Control is a super similar deck, except it's splashing white for some better removal like Swords to Plowshares and whatnot, and Lavinia, and like Containment Priest and things like that. The only disadvantage, it gives worse mana, which matters a lot less in Legacy, but can really matter.
Anybody ever wonder if their cats are aliens? I do. They're quite paradoxical. Much like Lurrus. What are you doing? Yeah, she's in her own world.
Lurrus Paradoxical Outcome is a slightly different deck. What this deck is centered around is drawing through your deck, protecting what you're doing with counter magic, obviously, and then casting Paradoxical Outcome to return all of these free artifacts to your hand, drawing a ridiculous amount of cards, and then replaying those free artifacts, sometimes for profitable mana, and burying your opponent in that card advantage. There's some cool combos in the deck as well, notably Time Vault Manifold Key, you know, is one of the better ones, or just having a ridiculous amount of mana in like fourth Eolingas or whatever. And then of course, if things go wrong, you get to bring back Lurrus and do a lot of the stuff all over again.
Get it? I'm white.
And the most popular deck in Vintage is Mono White Initiative. What this deck is attempting to do is using crazy mana advantage with all these zero cost artifacts like Mana Crypt, Chrome Mox, the Moxes, Black Lotus, stuff like that, to be able to play extremely powerful white cards like White Plume Adventurer, Seasoned Dungeoneer to apply an insane amount of pressure, and then behind that have a really good Hate Bears game, an Anointed Peacekeeper, Archon of Emeria, Clarion Conqueror, and so on. And this just gets the aggro out so quick, and especially since a lot of the cards share creature types, you're able to play things like Cavern of Souls, and really you only need one of these things to resolve to win the game. But that is the Vintage metagame. If you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check me out on social medias. Links are above me and in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.